Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the winter series, Infusion of Joy. I'm Deb McGregor. If you don't know me yet, I host the Live Joy, Share Joy radio program, and of course, I work with Life Full of Joy. Tonight, I'm so excited about welcoming to our show Grace Heer. Grace, welcome to the Infusion of Joy winter series.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, first we need to tell. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm a little bit distracted because I'm wanting to share the videos live, and I want to share it to my page. So
okay. So is it shared to your page?
I'm working on it right now.
Okay. So while Grace is working on sharing this to her page, because of course we don't want anybody missing a minute of this, I'm going to talk about how amazing she is. So Grace and I actually met through a program called Produce You, which is run by Rick Tamlin and Chuck Lioi. I don't know if I say Chuck, if you're watching and I got your last name a little bit mutilated, but we know it's Lioi. Lioi. Yeah. Did I kind of get it right?
Lioi.
Okay, Lioi. Well, I was close.
Oh.
And what's important is that we just adore the work that they're doing and helping other people get their amazing work into the world. And when I met Grace, one of the things that really intrigued me about her is that she is a certified professional cuddler. She is also a certified professional cuddler event coordinator. They're actually events that happen around this. I was so intrigued about this. But in addition to that, she is a certified professional coactive coach. She is also a master practitioner for neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. And in addition to that, she is a certified end-of-life doula. Now, what I said to Grace is we could probably do an entire infusion of joy on any one of those topics. But one of the things that really has intrigued me about the work that Grace does is her work around boundaries and her work around grief. So those are the two areas we're going to focus on tonight. And when Grace and I had spoken prior to going live, one of the things I said to her is, we're moving into 2022 and people are making all these New Year's resolutions. They're picking a word of the year. And one of the things that you often hear people say is, I need to get better at saying no. I need to get better at establishing boundaries. So Grace, let's start there, because this is one of the amazing places that you are bringing incredible work into the world, is helping people learn how to say no and learn how to have a boundary. Yeah. So let's talk about what does that even mean?
Well, the thing is that you can't have in order to create a safe space for people to feel comfortable to cuddle with me, they have to know that they can say no and have that welcomed. Have you ever said no to someone and had them say, oh, come on, here, would you like some cake? No, thank you. Oh, come on, it's just a little cake. Or come on, it's a party. Or, oh, it's, one bite won't hurt you. That is someone who is not respecting your boundary, right? And so imagine if when someone asked you something and you said, no, thank you. Imagine if they said, oh, that's a great boundary. Thanks for taking good care of yourself. Or, I'm so glad that you let me know. Right? Instead of trying to coerce or trying to talk you into it or pushing back, just okay, thanks. That makes me feel so safe. I can trust you with my no, but it also means that if you will accept my no, you will also accept you can trust my yes.
Yeah. Let's underline that. You can trust my yes.
Yes.
Let's talk about why that is so important. I would even add, especially in today's environment.
Well, if someone is wanting to, how do I say, trusting yes means that You don't have to wonder, oh, does she really want to do that? Or is she just saying yes because out of obligation, out of like trying to please? No, if I feel safe saying yes and saying no, um, then you can trust that if I'm doing something, if I say yes to something, it's wholehearted. And it's not just a yes, it's a hell yes, or a
Yeah.
heck yes, or a you betcha,
Yeah.
like it's wholehearted yes,
Yeah.
because I feel safe saying no.
Yeah.
Makes
And
sense?
I absolutely, and one of the reasons I love you bringing this up is, this conversation actually brings me back to times in my childhood where, oh, come
Mm,
on, give uncle a hug or give auntie a hug. And I'm sitting there going like, I'm just not comfortable with this. Oh, what's the big deal? Do it anyway. And
mhm.
it almost becomes, it's actually can mess with the mind a little bit into, well, geez, maybe it's not okay for me to say, if somebody is telling me that I need to do this, it's
Right.
sort of especially when it's a parent or somebody that is that type of role in a person's life.
Yeah,
And I think it really sends mixed signals
it does.
about what it means to stand up for ourselves or stand up for our boundary. And so I love this concept of asking permission. And I have to share with our people viewing that after I went through one of the sessions that you did with a group, I really got very aware of not just hugging people, but saying, um, would would you mind if I gave you a hug, or is this okay? Or, and if someone said, well, geez, I'm just, whether it's for COVID or other reasons, if they're not comfortable with it, I would say, thank you for letting me know. Whereas in the past, I might have been like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And then we can fall into that somehow making them wrong to make us right, right? We can get into that just
Right.
spiral
So
effect.
and knowing, like when you accept someone's no, that is so freeing because that means, oh, it's not about me, it's their boundary. This
Yeah.
has nothing to do with me, and they're not rejecting me. They're not telling me I'm a horrible person. It's just they don't want to hug. Maybe their arm is sore and it'll hurt them but whatever it is, that's not my business. My business is to accept their no and celebrate it rather than judge it.
Yes, absolutely. And what I love about this, when you said that it's freeing, this becomes actually, it's a freeing thing.
Yeah.
So what does it look like for us to actually reframe as we go into 2022 and thinking about saying no and having boundaries is actually, this is freeing. It
Mhm.
actually becomes freeing for us.
Yes.
Because I don't know if this is true or not, but I have a feeling a lot of us could make up that boundary feels like not freeing. Boundary feels like, right? And
You
yet
know,
you're offering a different perspective of this.
yeah, yeah. I saw something recently that said, and I shared it on my Facebook page. Your boundaries don't have to feel like an electric fence around you. They can simply be a light shining around you, showing people how to respect you.
Mm. We're asking for respect.
Yeah.
And when we have that self respect and we ask for respect from others, it makes all the difference.
Hmm. Hmm.
I love that, Grace. I love
And
this.
and when I say no, it won't be even if I don't offer um or a reason, right? If I simply say no, thank you, people I can say it with respect,
Yeah.
and with no disrespect to that person, and this is my boundary.
I love this. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could have more conversations like this in general? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have, right? Is
I
that
agree.
we just don't know even how to have these conversations
Mhm.
around boundary or saying no. And I think this could make all the difference, and which
Yeah,
is why the work you're doing is so important.
yeah.
So what's one tip that you would give to people around boundary? So as you look towards this 2022 and boundary, what would be the most important tip that you would want to share with someone?
Oh, oh, there's so many.
I know, I know. I see. I feel like I'm setting a boundary, only giving you one, right?
But I would say, like, pay attention to what it feels like when you say yes or when you say no. Because when I say, if I say no to something that I really do want, for whatever reason, I really want to to go and visit you, but I know that my time is short, or whatever, there's some reason that I can't go and visit you. If I say no um to something that I really want, I can feel that, like, longing. I can feel that, oh, um and if that feeling is strong enough, then I may look at, okay, what can I change in order to do that thing that I want?
Yeah,
When I say no, or when I say yes and I mean it, I can feel it.
yeah,
I can feel it in my gut, in my solar plexus. I am a yes to this. Let's go. And I can feel that same thing when I am a no to this. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So pay attention to your physical and your spirit body.
yeah. I love this because we do know, right? The body gives us these clues. We already know.
We
We
do.
already know. It's so true.
Yeah.
So thank you for that tip, and we'll do this again at the end. But just in case we're just catching people that might be on right now,
Mhm.
um, I know that you have a lot more available to people around boundary, around saying yes, around saying no. For people who are following you on Facebook, how would people get a hold of you? How would they follow you? Let's make sure that people know how to do that, just in
For
case we.
sure. Well,
Uh,
my handle on Instagram is at Graceful Cuddles. My website is gracefulcuddles.com. And on Facebook, you can find me, Grace Hair Coaching and Cuddling. I think I have that. Let me
Yes, can you,
type
if
that
that
in
would
the
be awesome if
comments.
you could type those in the comments for people too. I love, are you able to see the comments right now? Or the
No, as a matter of fact, I'm not.
okay, it should
So,
be
but
there.
I put it in the private chat, so maybe you could put it in
Okay,
the.
yes, what I'll do is I will get all that copied. So
Okay.
as I'm getting that copied, before we transition into talking about grief, just because the word cuddle is in your name so much, can you
Yeah.
at least let people know what is that? Because I think a lot of people don't like, what is that, Grace?
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, it is what it says. I do indeed cuddle people professionally. um, and people come to me when they are um, lonely, sad, alone. Skin hunger is a thing. Sometimes people are not single. Maybe they're in relationships, but their partner doesn't like to cuddle. you know if you are a cuddle positive person and you are living with someone who is cuddle averse, then maybe you have a conversation with them and you get to come and cuddle with me instead. And it truly is entirely 100% platonic. I don't do anything that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing um, in front of grandma, you know, or in if my little niece or nephew walked into the room, it would we wouldn't have to change anything about our physical or mental aspect. Just nice, cozy, warm cuddling, enjoying one another. So, I've had sessions up to like 4 hours long.
Wow.
There are folks who do overnight cuddling. I haven't done that yet. But in the 4 hour sessions, sometimes we'll read a book together, sometimes we'll watch a movie or make music. I have colleagues who will make a meal with their cuddle clients. It's not something that I do. The facility where I see my clients doesn't have a kitchen, so
Okay.
But,
Well, I love that you're bringing this up because I think especially during the pandemic,
hmm,
people were craving human touch and human connection.
so much, so much.
And I know there's probably a lot of research data around this of how long it even takes to kick in those feel good things. And it is platonic. Like what you're talking about is this is our body's natural, what it needs, how we are created.
Yeah,
And I think it's not necessarily an understood profession.
right.
And yet it serves such a purpose. I think even about going like to the nursing home where people, all they just want is somebody just even hold their hand and
Yes.
just have
Yeah.
that touch with somebody. And
Yeah.
it's so, so important.
When
Uh,
my parents were living, I would go and visit them. They lived in a retirement community that had all levels of care, so I would go into the assisted living and I would go into the skilled nursing and, just visit people. And you're right, just simple hand holding, or if someone was in bed, maybe holding a hand and caressing their forehead, brushing someone's hair. Oh, the women thought it was such a treat to have their hair brushed,
mhm, yeah.
and it brings wonderful, some kinds of platonic touch can bring beautiful memories, right?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it really is reconnecting.
Mm.
And as you're talking about memories, I can't think of a better transition to talk about the other topic that I really, really want to talk about, which is your work around grief.
Yeah, yeah.
So needed. And as you and I were saying before we went live, yeah, it's the thing that everybody kind of wants to know about, but then nobody will talk about it. Why is that? Why does no one want to talk about their grief?
It's frightening. It's like grief can be so overwhelming. It's such a big emotion and it's hard to sit with, right? It's
Mm,
really hard to sit with our big emotions like that. So it's just it's scary. It's a
yeah.
scary thing to be with. That sense of loss, that feeling of emptiness, that um, knowledge that there has been a great loss.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
And I know one of the things that you actually put together to help people through grief is the 6 window panes of grief.
Mm.
Let's talk a little bit about that. And I believe that you even can make that. Is that on your website or it's something if they email you, they can get or sign up for your newsletter?
Well, actually, on one of the tools or I do have a grief to relief checklist that you can get if you go to my website. You can send me your email address, and I will send that out to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so those are tools of this is what you can do to feel better. Um, the 6 window panes of grief is more about how does grief show up in our lives? Because when you say grief, people immediately think, oh, somebody died, or maybe there's been a divorce or a breakup of some kind, right? And those are very true. And there are so many other ways that grief does show up. And all of us in the past 2 years have experienced grief, even if we haven't lost someone to death. There's been so many other losses, loss of physical abilities, and an unrequited dream. And it could be just as simple as this isn't how it was supposed to be.
Mm,
And we have to grieve that loss, the loss of this was, I had this dream and it was going to be this way, but it's not this way. And so this is gone. And that's a loss. And so we need to grieve that so that we can move forward into new possibilities and new dreams with a full heart.
yeah. I love this. And as you talk about that, it's like this is a process.
It
And
so is.
what I love that you're bringing into this too is what I hear is there's a gift in the process if
Mm,
we choose to walk through the process.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, Absolutely agreed. There's a phrase that I just came up with, and I can't remember what it is. So I'm looking it up on my phone because I wrote myself a note about it.
Hey, I am so glad we are sisters about this kind of stuff. Like, what was that thing you wrote down? I actually done this where I was go like, oh, I had this great video topic. Wait a minute, what was it? I have to go back to
Right,
my notebooks,
right.
like, right? I love it.
So we have to be with to get through.
Mm,
We
I
have
love
to
that.
we have to be with our grief to get through our grief. We can't, it's one of those, the only way out is through. We can't just say, okay, I didn't, and it's not about checking the boxes either. Like, some folks, I have a friend who has a friend whose mother just died on Monday.
Mm,
And so right now, that friend is just checking the boxes. Okay, funeral home and uh, burial plans or cremation plans. What all the check of the house and the doctors and call all the people and tell check, 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 check. And that's taking care of business. That's not your grief.
yes.
you know so being able to be with your grief, just being with that emotion, that's what's going to get you through it.
Yeah.
And that people hate hearing that.
And yet, when people actually work in the process and work with someone like you, it actually, I would like to believe that not only does it make the process smoother, more full of learning, but my
Mhm.
guess is there's even some fun in the process. Yes, there's tears, and there's also the piece of it that becomes joy.
Yes, there because you're making room for it. Have you heard the theory that grief, like, you get a piece of grief, if this is your life and you've got the grief in it, like, it's not that the grief shrinks over time, but your life gets bigger and the grief stays the same.
Mm.
So if we are active, if we are proactive about being with our grief, about processing it, about then we can um, we can make room and we can have a bigger, fuller life.
It's so true, and it's like even making me think about things like if we're living too much in the past or we're worried too much about the future and we're not here now, we are
Mhm.
missing so much.
Right, right,
And
right.
this work that you're doing with grief really helps people. I love that analogy of looking at life and the grief, it becomes this instead of this, right?
Yeah,
Because life is so much bigger than that.
right. Yeah.
Grace, how do you do this work with people? Is it in groups? Is it one-on-one? Is it combinations? Like if somebody said, okay, I showed up today to hear this for a purpose. I have grief. I have grief.
Yeah.
What does that look like working with you?
There's I have done groups in the past. I don't have one scheduled right now, but it's something that I will look at in the spring. And I do have openings right now for one-on-one clients. So I request an 8 week, at least an 8 week commitment, because grief takes time. This process takes time, you
Yes.
know. So that's an 8 week commitment, and we'll start with the first session will be, okay, where are you now? What are the losses, and maybe not all of this in the first session, but what are the losses that you have experienced, and which one do you want to focus on right now? which one do you want to focus on for this time? And then we can work together to process and to heal that. Um, and then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I like no, it sounds amazing, and I'm visualizing that there are people that are listening right now that are thinking, "Oh my gosh, like, it's time."
Mm,
And I'm thinking of people I know that still have boxes from a parent who passed 10 years ago, that the boxes are still sitting there unopened. Like, clearly there's something going
yeah,
on here that needs to be
yeah.
talked about, and
Um,
one of the things, Grace, I love about you is you are such a gentle soul, and your
oh,
spirit is so loving and so warm and so full of compassion, and your ability to bear witness for people, your ability to be with people
mm,
and give them and hold that space for processing is unbelievable. Like, you have such a gift for this. I know you have formal training, but you also have a gift. It's
oh,
both.
thank
It's
you.
yes and. It's yes and I don't. You can't see this, but Jean Patno just wrote, "Allow yourself, give yourself permission to feel the grief." She's
Yes,
kind of getting in here with what you're talking about, Grace.
yes.
Jean, thanks for the comment. And Grace, as I think about you doing this work, I mean, one thing that comes up, I need to get out of my marketing head a little bit here, but one thing that's coming up is people working through the grief of this pandemic time. I think there is a lot of grief, and I think we're just scratching the surface right now of it. And if this is resonating for you, like, this is a real thing. We're witnessing this on so many levels. And for a lot of people, I am a firm believer that taking the initiative or making a choice to take a step in personal development, whether it's working through grief, whether it's getting clear on boundary, whether it's learning to say no,
Mm,
choosing to invest in this,
yeah,
you're investing in yourself, and it is so important.
yeah.
And that's one thing I feel like we almost like need to give ourselves permission to say, it's okay to do this. And in fact, it's not just okay. This is, in my opinion, this is the courageous part of us, right?
Oh my goodness, yes. It takes tremendous courage to commit to doing this work.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
does. Because, being with these big scary emotions is hard.
It is. Well, and I think about things that sometimes people, and I know they mean well, but well, geez, how much longer are you going to grieve about this? Or how much, like, right? Like, it's like, I think sometimes we don't always think about what comes out of the mouth
Mhm,
sometimes.
mhm.
And one thing that I'm just very aware of is that we all have a different journey and a different timeline. And what I also know is that working with someone like you can help us in the timeline so
Yeah,
that we can get, I don't want to say back to what a new normal, new this, what's normal anyway, but
right,
like, if you talked about that piece here, that life becomes bigger than here's this thing, it's still
yeah,
here, but all of a sudden the life surrounds it. So
right.
I just think the work that you're doing is so wonderful.
Oh,
Grace, I can't even believe this. We've almost been talking for 30 minutes because we're so fun together. So I
okay,
just want to
good.
I want to let people know, I did put in the comments your Facebook page, your Instagram. We want to invite you to be following both of those. I did also put your website, tons of goodies on there. And I just want to, again, just really give a shout out to Grace. Friends, if you're out there and you are maybe recognizing there's a little bit of grief, something going on, get a call scheduled with Grace. You will be blessed forever. Like, she is just amazing. And
Well, I do want to share actually, I right now it's a great time for us to be talking because I'm giving away 50 conversations. So if
what?
you
This
I
is
know,
amazing.
it's crazy.
Oh,
But so if you're interested but you're not sure, if there's some like grief that you are concerned about, but you're like, is this normal? I don't know. If there's any doubt in your mind, just reach out to me. You can DM me um on the instant on the social media. You can reach out to me via the website. My email is gracefulcuddles@gmail.com. Just reach out to me. We'll schedule a conversation, and we'll talk about what's, how do you, how, is first of all, we'll normalize it because grief is normal. And then we'll talk about what, if you want to take steps.
Oh my gosh, I love this. 50. I wrote in the thing, what? Grace is giving away 50 conversations. This is so great. And I always love to say to people, like, seriously, just spend some time with Grace. How could you not, after you've just been watching her now, just like fall in love with her, because it's like there's something in her spirit that just draws you, because Grace, actually, what it reminds me of, it's healing and restoration. There is something in your being that leads people to healing and restoration.
Oh, thank
So, yeah,
you.
as we're sitting here talking, like, oh yeah, that's it. It's a healing and restoration place that you've been called to be a part of for people. So,
Mhm.
friends, give yourself a gift. She's got 50 calls there, and let's fill her slots anyway, right? Like, let's make it happen. It'll be fun. Grace, I just want to thank you so much for joining us, and I want to thank you for giving of yourself. I want to thank you for honoring and working with people who are going through grief, people who are trying to establish boundaries, people who are learning to say no, and that you've taken the time not just to intuitively follow this call, but you also have gotten so many credentials to actually give you that piece of it too. Like, I feel like it started the heart brain connection, right? Like, you're doing it all. It's all mind, body, spirit connection. So thank you so much. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Oh, it's been so wonderful. So great to see you.
Yeah, you
And
too.
you and I could just like sit and chat for hours.
I know, that's why I'm like, if they're not careful, they'll be on your list. People are like, what are those ladies doing? I'm like, it's so fun. You just got somebody, Jean just said thank you in the comments too. I think you'll be able to see these once we're off the things. You can see what people are writing in here.
Wonderful.
So thank you, Grace, for coming on. And we want to thank all of you, our viewing audience, for tuning in tonight, whether you were on live or you're watching this after the live broadcast. We do appreciate you tuning in, and we hope that this continues to infuse your life with a little bit of joy. And we want to remind you that we are doing the winter series right now for Infusion of Joy. Next week, our special guest is going to be Kelly Jo Zellman, and she is with Nutritious Ways. She is all about mindfulness and intuitiveness as it comes to how we look at food, how we look at our lifestyles. She is phenomenal. If you have met Kelly Jo, you know what I mean. So from grace and grief to Kelly Jo and Nutritious Ways, it's going to like, how does it get any better than this, Grace?
Sounds juicy to me. I'm going to tune in next week.
Yeah, it's all juicy. We love it, don't we? So thanks again, friends. Wishing you abundance, blessings, peace, and joy. Thanks again, Grace. Blessings to all. All right. Good night, everybody.